What if the deepest healing hides in ceremonies under the stars, ancient plants that rewrite your soul, and energy shifts you can't explain? Shrouded in taboo, Sarah May uncovers it all, from escape in a poisonous marriage of harm and betrayal to nomadic freedom. Curious yet on how she found the love that doesn't require self-abandonment? Her secrets drop right now on From Wounds to Wisdom. Let's dive in.
I was married very young at 21 and divorced by 24. So it was a short marriage. It was very tumultuous. Unfortunately, it was very abusive and very traumatic. Even when I got into it, I was like, this is wrong. This is weird. I'm going to be so judged. And I was, where anything in this world was occult, and forbidden. And so I had a lot of unpacking to do on my spiritual path.
This is From Wounds to Wisdom with Barbie Moreno. Real talk, deep healing, and stories that turn pain into power. Let's dive in. Hi, Sarah. Thank you for coming on From Wounds to Wisdom. We're so grateful to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me, Barbie. It's a pleasure to be here.
You are in the world that I absolutely love so much. So this is the world that I hid from the world simply because it wasn't really accepted by society for such a long time. But we're now coming into a place where people need help. Traditional help is not working for them, and they need to really get in touch with who they are. And so before we reveal all of the beautiful things that you do, you came to this space because of some stuff that has happened in your life. And can you just give us an idea of your background?
Yeah, absolutely. And I so agree with you. It's so exciting to see what's coming into the world and into our collective consciousness when it comes to healing. And so a little bit about me. I am an author, a teacher, and a healer.
Mm.
My book is called She Journeys. It's coming out September 9th, anywhere books are sold. So I'm very excited about that. And the book is about my healing journey. So I was married very young and at 21 and divorced by 24. So it was a short marriage. It was very tumultuous. Unfortunately, it was very abusive and very traumatic. But that experience initiated me onto the healing path. And so when my world fell apart, it was the opportunity to rebuild from the ashes, from the ground up. And I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted. I couldn't imagine my life going on or rebuilding. But really looking back, it was like the curse that became the most beautiful gift because it introduced me to myself. And I started this 10-year-long healing journey. There was solo travel. I traveled across the country, camping, hiking, backpacking on my own, rediscovering a sense of strength and empowerment after I felt so disempowered in my marriage. Was surrounded by friends and family, which was also deeply healing. And then eventually started therapy and dabbled with some traditional healing modalities and then got into some of the alternatives. So I discovered yoga, that was deeply healing, meditation, spirituality. And then from there, it progressed to breath work and transformational breath work. And I used EMDR. And I found a shaman who had plant medicine ceremonies. And that became one of the most deeply healing experiences that I had ever encountered. And I like to say, like, it brought me home to myself in a whole new way and helped me remember things that I think once I knew, but it was just like coming home is the best way to describe it. And so it's been a long, winding, crazy road that I never would have expected to take. But it's been so beautiful, and I'm so, so grateful for all of it.
Yeah, I want to talk about a little bit about your previous marriage, but I want to comment on the plant medicine because my experience with like ayahuasca, I've only done it once, I told you that, was the most loving experience. And I talked to so many people about it. There's a lot of people afraid of it because they're like, I don't know what demons I'm going to have to deal with. And, obviously that does happen, but then you heal from it in such a short period of time instead of going through this like therapy and talking about everything that happened and blah, blah, blah. And I remember like I dealt with some stuff that I was from my mom when I was younger.
Mm.
But the biggest thing that I dealt with was I kept writing in my journal during it, like, you are worthy, you are
Mm.
worthy, you are worthy. And it was dealing with that part of myself that never felt like it was enough
Mm.
and never felt like it was worthy of love, enjoying my life, of coming home to myself, which is like kind of what it was. And I would imagine I actually want to do another ceremony sooner than later. And the one thing I love about these plant medicine ceremonies is I don't know how you do it, but oftentimes it's over a few days, right? So there's
Mm.
time for integration and things like that. What is the style that you do?
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing about your experience. That's so beautiful. And it reminds me of something the shaman that I work with said the first time I worked with ayahuasca, which was that the medicine will show you love or
Mhm.
what gets in the way of love.
Yes.
And so it's all about helping us see more clearly and come back to that truth. And so that's so beautiful that that was your experience and has been mine as well.
Yeah.
And so I've done a couple of different types of plant medicine ceremonies. And it depends on the type of ceremony or the type of medicine that we're working with. It's either an overnight, like we do ayahuasca throughout the night,
Right.
and then we have integration as a group the next morning. So that's usually a 2-day experience. And then, like a mushroom ceremony is usually just a day-long experience.
Yeah.
I recently did an MDMA ceremony, which was incredible, and that was a 2-day experience. But what's beautiful is the person that I work with, they're very intentional about you prepare for a week beforehand.
Yeah.
Integration is the biggest piece of this, right? It's not about this peak experience. It's what we do
Mhm.
with it afterwards. Like
Mhm.
integration is everything. And so really intentional about after ceremony, your experience and having some alone time or time in nature
Yeah.
and then follow-up sessions, of course, to continue processing what came up for you. So I've been doing medicine work since 2019, probably sat over a dozen ceremonies at this point, and every ceremony is different, right?
Mhm.
Like even if we bring an intention
Right.
in the first 5 minutes, it could be like, oh, that's not why I'm here. Like the
Oh,
medicine
yeah,
will
you
be
don't get
like,
to choose.
no,
Yeah, yeah,
no,
yeah. No, no, you
yeah.
definitely don't get to choose.
Yeah, and the medicine, it's so interesting because each plant or each medicine has its own spirit. And
Yeah.
that's not something I ever expected,
Mhm.
was that they work with you in different ways and they're so intelligent. They know what you need, right?
Right.
They know why you're really there, even if we don't
Yeah.
consciously. And so yeah, I love that you've had your own experience and feel called to go back because for me, I'm just such a big believer in the power of deep healing that they can
Yes.
provide in a really accelerated timeline. And I also believe that there's something so powerful about the somatic work we do in
Yes.
ceremony because talk therapy is great. I've been in therapy for most of my life,
Yeah.
but it's talk therapy. Like we're not getting to an energetic level in our bodies, which,
Right.
as we now know, trauma gets stored in our bodies, in our
Mhm.
cells. So plant medicine has a way of unlocking unconscious memories, something we've buried or something that's been buried in our bodies and helping us to release that. And I think
Yeah.
for me, that's what's been so powerful was because I didn't know how to work with my body. I didn't know what was in my body. I didn't
Right.
even remember some of the trauma that came up in ceremonies.
Yeah.
And so having that be the facilitator to help me move that energy and things that were stuck and stored was like the most powerful combination. I think we need both. I think we need the talk and the
I agree.
processing and the
Yeah.
somatic work.
And that's kind of how it is in life, right? Like, so I'm a big believer in if you break your leg or you're in a car accident, you go to the emergency room. You don't go to a holistic healer in the moment,
Right,
right? There's an emergency trauma type thing. And then as time goes on and you want to heal from that, then you would go to somebody who's more like us, like the energy healing and all of those
right,
different things. But
mhm,
initially, you need that help. You don't replace it with something else.
right, right.
So there's a couple of things for those that don't understand when we're talking about like they give you your journey, they give you what you need. There's different energies in each of the plants, right? Like for me, my shaman was saying like ayahuasca was like a grandmother energy, right? And then I'm actually I've never had great experience with psilocybin. I see clowns; they drive me insane. Every single time, I can't deal with the clowns. I'm like, I can't get away from the stupid clowns. Like once I get past the stupid clowns, then it's fine. But like I just that's not my deal.
Mhm.
But EMDR, somatic work, breath work, meditation, These are things that are becoming more and more popular, I believe, because people find that they're actually working. And I think that few people are finally coming to the understanding that we are energy,
Mhm.
that we're not just physical beings, that we're spiritual, that we're energy, that we're all of these beautiful things. And our personality and the way that we show up in this world oftentimes comes from what society teaches us that we should be
Mm.
instead of aligning with who we are. I love EMDR for trauma. Right. I've done MDMA once. And the one thing that I can say, so MDMA is so loving, right? Like you just love everybody. You're like, yay, it's so loving. Um, but after all of these things, what I experienced is that you went through these experiences. So you're now like open to like love and like all of these things. And then you go back into the real world. Nobody else has had this experience. And you have to integrate with like the same people that you had maybe are causing you some of the trauma,
Mm.
maybe are uncomfortable for you. Maybe you're like, I can no longer deal with this because now I see that this is not the life for me. Or maybe you're like, well, I'm going to go ahead and integrate this into my current life because I don't want to totally throw it out the door, right? But the whole point of this comment is that you come back with this knowing and this inner peace, and then the whole world is just like going against that is what it feels like, right?
Totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it can feel really raw. It can feel really
Yes.
vulnerable
Yeah.
and a little isolating,
Mhm.
if you're like have this big like open heart and you just feel so much love
Yep.
and then you go out and it's like really abrupt or someone's rude or like the energy's angry, it can be like
Right. It's like,
it
why is it like this?
yeah,
This
it
is
can
so
feel
horrible.
so jarring. I love this analogy, like this indigenous teaching that when you do ceremony, it's like you're going back into the womb and
Mm.
like you're being reborn. And when you come out, you don't just have a baby go out into the world, like you kind of take time. And my shaman says, like, it's really important to do soft things after ceremony, like you're a baby, be really gentle. Don't go on a 10-mile run. You wouldn't ask a baby to do that. Like, I know that's a funny analogy, but this idea that like we're really soft. And
Yeah.
so and remembering that everything we surround ourselves with impacts us, like speaking
Mhm.
of energy. So,
Yeah.
what we watch, what we listen to, who we choose to spend our time and energy with, like we are taking all of that in and taking it on. And so, it's actually a really great opportunity for us to see what's not in alignment. And maybe it can show us relationships that no longer are in alignment with who we are or that don't feel good to us or that we know it's time to set a boundary. There's some incredible stories of people who go sit ceremony and come back and quit their job because they see like this isn't for me. Like I can't walk this
I
path
did that.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And that's what's so beautiful is it can be life-changing if we
Mhm.
have the courage to change our lives, right?
Mhm.
It's always
Mhm.
up to us, but absolutely we can be like so soft and raw. That's why I love this integration piece and being so intentional about integration.
It's beautiful.
After my last ceremony, I just needed alone time and I booked a hotel and I was just alone and I went swimming and I went in the ocean. And that felt like the best thing I could have done because it just helped me like get, kind of come back to my body a little bit and be
Yeah.
in my own space before I went out and engaged with anyone. But yeah, it can be a really sharp contrast. Absolutely.
I remember after, so the ceremony that I did was like a 3-day thing. The last day is the group integration and all of these different things. I was in such a place of love. I changed my flight so I could come home earlier. I was supposed to stay one more day at like a hotel, but I wanted to come home and be with my husband and my children and all of these things. And I really wish I would have integrated more because then you come home to the busy. And I think that a lot of women who have
Mm.
families have a difficult time taking the time for themselves.
Yeah, I don't have children, but that makes so much sense to me. I think what's so beautiful about this is it's like the work that we do is
Mhm.
also on behalf of, right?
Right.
So it's actually so important to take that time because then we come home a better version of ourselves, a more
Right.
loving, a more centered, a more like present version of ourselves, really unpacking that guilt and that expectation of like, why does a mother need to be on 24/7? When
Mhm.
really, like, maybe the most important thing you can do is to go take that time and come back so grounded and so present and so loving.
Yeah.
And I always have that experience when I come back from ceremony where my husband is like, you look different when you come
Mhm.
back. we're doing it for ourselves, but it also benefits everyone around us,
Absolutely.
you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. The funny thing is, like, I have a completely capable husband. Like, it's not like he doesn't do this
Right.
every single day, but there's this feeling of like abandonment that came
Mhm.
with like being a mom and like again leaving for, it was supposed to be 4 days, but leaving for 3 days and stuff like that. I want to go into energy work because this is one thing I do and you do it as well. But talk to me about energy work and how you incorporate that in your integration and in the work that you do.
Yeah, I love this question. I love talking about this stuff. We could do it all day, Barbie. But yeah, and so I discovered energy work through that shaman that I work with. She
Mhm,
also does Reiki. I wasn't like ever that curious about it until I started working with her and felt the benefits myself when it
mhm,
was like, oh, something's happening here. I would feel different things triggering in my body, different things being released. And I didn't used to like really be aware of my body. Like I think
right.
trauma can do that where we're just dissociated.
Disconnected. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
totally. And I remember thinking like this is weird. I've never had this experience before where she'd be moving her hands to different places and it would get really hot or
Mhm,
it would get really cold or I would start shaking or I would get like a mental picture of something. Every time I left her office, I was like so soft, so
mhm.
relaxed. I felt so much better.
Yeah,
And that was kind of my first introduction to like, oh, and something's shifting and changing energetically in me.
yeah.
And so I decided to do a Reiki training with her. It was so cool because there were just so many confirmations of like, this is what you're meant to be doing.
Mhm,
Where we were at this beautiful property in the woods, and we go, and it's the first day, and we have some alone time. And then she, like, tells us the history of Reiki, and it's kind of like a workshop. You're learning a lot about Reiki and energy healing and what
right.
it is. But I'm out and I'm kind of just saying some prayers and the word came to me like I need more discernment in my life. With the Reiki training, you get what's called an attunement. It basically opens up your chakras so that you can channel Reiki energy more clearly.
Yep.
So it allows you to send the energy. And so she was giving me my first Reiki attunement. And then afterwards, she's like, Sarah, the word that came through for you was discernment.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, like that's so
What a
cool.
confirmation, right?
Right,
Yeah.
totally. And during that attunement, it was like my whole system opened up. And I know
Mhm,
that sounds so weird, but I felt so open on a level and that I hadn't experienced before. I connected with this like energy, and it's just
mhm.
energy, right? It's just
Right.
healing energy. It's something we channel. It's not something we create.
I
We're
agree.
just like a vessel. We're just
Yep,
channeling
that's what I
this,
say, yeah.
yeah, this energy. And so but the first part of this was learning just to work with it for myself,
Right.
giving myself Reiki before I ever gave anyone else Reiki, which is great because you really develop a personal relationship with it. You
Mhm.
notice what does it feel like? What are the sensations that come through? Kind of a long journey of just getting to know it because when you don't grow up with any kind of awareness around energy or like what is
Right,
that? Like for me, this was totally woo-woo. I was raised very conservative Christian.
right.
And this was not part of like the conversation at all. And so I had a lot of blocks around like, is this real? Am I making this up? Am I
Or is this
actually?
bad, right? A
Yeah,
lot of people
yeah.
are like, "This comes from the devil," you know?
Right, right.
Yeah.
That totally. Like that's the background I came from, where anything in this world was occult, and forbidden. And so I had a lot of unpacking to do on my spiritual path. I'm really grateful though for that practice of getting to know it for myself
Right,
before I ever started doing sessions for others, because you do develop a personal relationship with
right.
it. It has its own spirit, its own energy.
Yeah,
So it's just like learning to work with a different tool or a different teacher. What I love about it is it's like really subtle, but it is really powerful.
right, and
Yeah.
the one thing I do tell people is you can purge afterwards, right? And so some people are like, "Oh my gosh, like, I was so tired," or, sometimes they have, like, gastrointestinal issues, and because, again, you're clearing out stuff, right?
Mhm.
So it's no different than anything else in that aspect, I had
Yeah.
somebody last week who actually broke out, like her face broke out, and like,
Oh,
that's not typical from, experiencing it, but it's just her body's way. Obviously, she was holding on to a lot of toxins and stuff like
mhm.
that. But I love that you say you worked on yourself for so long because I tell people that you can't be what we'd call like a wounded healer because your energy has to be in a place that you're allowed to be a channel in a way that's not putting your dense energy on somebody else, I guess is the way I always describe energy, as like dense when it's lower level. But it's important to do that. And there's so many people who they get like their Reiki 1 certification, which is like the first level. And then they're like, I want to be a Reiki practitioner. I'm like, no, 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 no. We don't do that, right? Like, we don't just go out there and start working on people like that, because there's so much work that you do have to do in order to be the channel that's needed to hold the energy and help bring it through. I always say, please let me be the perfect channel for whatever this person needs, right? That's kind of my prayer beforehand, to allow them for whatever they need healing wise, or energetically, or their connection with their higher self, whatever that is. So you work with plant medicine, you work with energy, you do integration. What else do you do?
Yeah, I love that you said we're never healed. Like, and I so agree with that. That's, I
Yeah,
think, part of the message that I am feel passionate about is I'm so passionate about healing because I've seen the benefits in my own life and it's
right.
brought me home to myself. And now I'm living this beautiful life that I love and
Mhm.
couldn't have imagined for myself before.
Right.
But it's not the destination, right? It's
Yeah,
the journey. It's the
exactly.
healing along the way. And the universe is always trying to bring us back to our wholeness, our worthiness, our authenticity. So throughout life, we're just coming up against these things that are trying to bring us back to that. My healing journey's been part of that. I mentioned in the beginning of our chat that I wrote a book. And
Uh,
so that's been my passion and my time for the last 5 years.
yes.
I knew I've always been a writer. I started journaling, keeping a daily journal when I was a teenager, and I still do it every day. It's one of the first things I do. So writing for me is just my way of making meaning, of processing, of
Yeah.
reflecting. I just feel so grounded after, almost a form of meditation or
Yeah.
just connection. I think I always knew I wanted to write a book. I just never imagined that my book would be what it was about,
Hmm.
which is my marriage and my marriage imploding and this beautiful healing journey that I went on. For the last 4 years, I've been focusing primarily on that.
Yeah.
Barbie, you know I live in a van, so
Yes.
I'm recording right
You're a
now. I'm
nomad.
a full-time nomad. Yeah, and so I've been living in a van for the last 5 years, and it's interesting. I was working full time. I was living in San Diego. I had student loans and a lot of debt and was really burned out and was really exhausted. And when we're in that place, I just didn't have the creative energy or the time to write,
Right.
even though I wanted to. So it took leaving everything when I got the van and sold everything and moved into it, took leaving my community, my jobs, selling most of my belongings before I had this space to write, which
Mhm.
is like incredible to me that people can write and have a job. I'm like, how
Right.
do you do that? That's
Yeah.
amazing. Because for me, it really did take leaving everything behind to finally have the freedom, the flexibility, and the space. So then I spent the next 4 years working on my memoir, which was deeply healing. How sometimes going back to the wounds, it's not that we're like triggering ourselves necessarily, it's that we're going back to like unpack and heal on an even deeper level.
Yeah.
And so the writing process was incredibly cathartic for me, even though there were many moments that were triggering. It helped me go even deeper into self compassion, to work through anger, to come into forgiveness. And it was just this big process of reconciling writing my book.
Yeah.
And so that was huge. That was a beautiful experience. And it took me even deeper into healing, took me even deeper into taking personal responsibility
Right.
for my path, what I chose, who I chose, my own behavior. I would have categorized myself as severely codependent and still can be, absolutely. But yeah, it was a lot of taking responsibility and getting really honest and getting really vulnerable. So, my book is the result of all of that and has been a huge labor of love. And I'm so excited for it to come out and to share it. So that's been the other kind of big piece that I've been working on the last few years.
Did you, so when, as I've been like writing my book, I have a perfectionism like a syndrome, right? So it's like I don't know how many times I've rewritten this thing. Like it's ridiculous, right? Because it's just like, oh, it's not like it's not exactly the way that I want, but like and at some point you just got to let it go, right? Did you experience that?
Oh my God, Barbie, every day.
It's like
So
driving me
hard.
insane.
Oh, it's crazy making. It's absurd because a book could always be better. At least
Mhm.
that's how I felt. It was like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm growing as a writer. I can make this better.
Yeah.
It could literally never be done.
Yes, and then
So
you channel something, you're like, "Oh, I can add that to this part, and
yeah,
then I could do this, and then, oh
yeah.
shit, I have to rewrite this."
Yeah. Oh, it's wild. I mean, and I don't think people understand what it takes to write a book. You
Right.
do because it's such a labor of love. It takes so
Yeah.
much discipline, it's so much time. I mean, I spent 4 years full time writing. Like there was probably 7 or 8 versions of the same book.
Mhm.
So and then edit after edit after edit to where you're just like almost sick of it, but
Yeah,
then like you still love it and you know you need to focus on it.
right.
And oh my gosh, like what a process. And absolutely, I so relate, especially towards the end. The perfectionism was like actually very destructive. Just that inner critic got really loud,
Exactly,
you know,
yeah,
of like, this isn't good enough or this could be better or like,
right. Or who wants to read about this?
right,
Like, right?
right.
Like, am I just mumbling and people are gonna be like, "What the heck is she talking about? Like, this doesn't
Yeah.
apply to anything?" Yeah,
Yeah, and, like, who
yeah.
am I? You know, who am I to do this? I mean, all
Right,
these, like, limiting beliefs came
yeah,
up, but it was so interesting. I think having a spiritual practice really helped me. It was
yeah.
huge in that, like we do with Reiki, you were
Mhm.
saying I'm just a channel. So at some point, I just had to turn my book over. I trust that this is good enough. I've poured my heart and soul into this, and it's enough. At some
And it
point
will be received by who it's supposed to be received by.
exactly, it's gonna
Trusting that.
resonate with
Yeah,
who it's meant to resonate with,
yeah.
and I trust the universe to take care of that. I
Mhm.
can't control that.
Right.
We just have to show up and do our best
Mhm.
and walk our paths. The rest really isn't in our control.
When we first talked prior to this, we talked about your ex-husband, all of the stuff that you went through with him. He was like in a helicopter crash. You had to deal with him after that, even if you didn't know knowing that you wanted to leave, you still have to deal with all that stuff. And we're not going to talk about it today, just simply because people can, one, read it in your book, and two, we only have so much time. But you have done a lot of work to become who you are. There are still a lot of people who think that what we do is woo woo. But what would you say? So you had your wounds, you're still on your journey, but you've done a lot of work on your journey. What would you give if you had a tool that people can leave here today? What would you tell our listeners that would help them leave today with something of value? You on the spot a little bit. Yay.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a beautiful question. I wanna take a moment just to think about that.
Yeah.
And while I do, I also just want to name that this isn't a path that I planned for myself.
Right.
You know, like I grew up very Christian. And so this world of woo woo was like, even when I got into it, I was like, this is wrong. This is weird. I'm going to be so judged. And I was, right? I
Absolutely.
was. But there was something that felt truer to me. I need to keep exploring this. This
Yeah.
feels more in alignment. Yoga studio feels more safe than a church. Like, what's that about? You know?
Right.
And so asking why is a really important question. Why do I believe the things that I believe? What does God feel like to me? Do I believe in judgment? Do I believe in hell? Like
Right.
asking those questions was like so, so felt so forbidden. But
Yeah.
I think,
And undoctrinating, right? Like, because that's
yes,
exactly what it is. It's like you don't have your own belief system. You are taught these are the rules. This
yep,
is the story. You believe it.
yep, yeah, exactly. And so for me, it's been a big process of getting to my truths.
Yeah.
And our truths all look different. So
Yep.
healing for me isn't going to look like healing for you. We all
Mhm.
have different journeys to take.
And not to interrupt you, but I also think it's important for people to understand we're not saying give up your religion.
Right. Yes.
We're
Thank you.
yeah, because I think that sometimes people are like, well, I'm not giving up Christianity. Don't. If that feels aligned to you, don't. It
Right.
doesn't mean that you can't enjoy your religious practices and also come to connect with a different way of being too, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. I just think that process of questioning is really
Mhm.
important. Like,
Yeah,
does this feel true for me? And if
right.
it does, beautiful. That's where you find comfort and
Yeah.
community and peace. Wonderful. Like, all of our paths will look different. You know, I'm living a very non-traditional life, but that's only because I was really conscious about creating it,
Yeah.
because I asked what aligns with me, like
Mhm.
what feels important to me. And it wasn't buying a house and starting a family. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I just knew
Right.
that that wasn't my path.
Mhm.
And so I think one of the biggest things would be to ask ourselves, what is important to me? You
Mm-hmm.
know, what do I want out of this experience of life? When
Mm-hmm.
I'm 90 years old looking back, will I be satisfied? Will I
Right.
be proud of what I did and how I showed up and how I loved? So, really having that perspective of not just at the end of the day, but at the end of our lives,
Mm-hmm.
you know, did we live a life that felt true and meaningful for us? Not for
Right.
anyone else, but for your own soul. Like, can you make peace with yourself and the decisions you made and the life you led for you?
Right.
Period.
And one thing I've learned is that that's like a something that you do daily. I say like, does this align with me? Because you can look way out there, like, let me live a life that aligns with me, but you can't make changes that far in the future. You make them each moment as we live.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I love, like, you're talking about integrity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like personal integrity of
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, this doesn't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's listen to that instead of ignoring that little feeling inside of us that's starting
Right.
to question. We ask this question, what aligns with me? But I think we have to know who me is,
Mm.
right? You know, that's a big piece of
That's a
discovering
big question.
such a big question, and
Yeah.
I'm still answering that question, right? Like it's a continual learning of who Sarah is and who I
Yeah.
came here to be as healers and in the work we do. That's having that integrity
Yeah.
is like a cornerstone,
Mm-hmm.
right?
I
I think
agree.
that's so important.
So if somebody listened to you today and they say, this feels like it aligns with me, even if it's a little woo-wee, or maybe they don't think that way, um, how do they connect with you?
Yeah. So you can find me at www.shejourneys.u. My book is the same name, She Journeys, and that comes out September 9th, anywhere books are sold. I'm on Instagram. My handle is she double underscore journeys.
Mhm.
And yeah, I love to talk about all things woo woo, just, I mean, anything in general, healing, healing path, overcoming hardship, divorce. I'm so excited to share my book with the world and connect with like-minded people like you, Barbie. This was such a pleasure and a treat. And I just want to thank the listeners as well for being here.
Good. By the time this actually airs, your book will be out. So we'll make sure that everybody has access to, finding it. Last thing I want to say is I don't know if you have encountered this too, but when I first started my journey and people would call this work woo woo, it used to offend me. And now I'm just like, whatever. Like, call it what you want, right? Like, it is what it is. Like, it's weird how, like, once you're confident in who you are, you don't get offended by everybody else's beliefs.
Right, right. Yeah, and isn't that beautiful? Like
Yeah.
when like you're so at peace with what feels right for you, it doesn't matter what so and so
Your life.
says or thinks. Yeah, it's your life. And did you live your life according to what felt good and true for you? And there's no one right path, right? Like I'm really clear that we're all meant to walk different paths. This will resonate with some people and it won't resonate with others. And that's okay. My book
Yeah,
will speak to certain people and it won't. And that's okay. I think the more we make peace with ourselves, the more we can make peace with the judgments and expectations from others,
I
which
love
feels
that.
so good. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Sarah, for sharing your gifts, for being a place that is a container
Mm.
for others. And we just hope that you touched at least one person. I know you will. And that they can then connect with you and change their life in a way that feels more authentic to who they are.
Thank you so much, Barbie. This was so much fun and such a pleasure and an honor to be here. So thank you.
Thanks. If this story spoke to you, let's keep the healing going. Visit barbiemoreno.com for my online course, Awakening Your Worth and Healing Energy sessions, one-on-one coaching, and your free healing guide. Your next step is waiting.